Nameless. Chapter 1. The Workhouse. Illumination from the dim sepia gaslights struggled to reach the corners and rear of the workhouse. There the gloomy darkness was foreboding and melancholy. The front of the building, however, was much better lit due to the flickers of light that always poured in from the numerous windows that lined it, offering glimpses of the dusty, bustling streets beyond. The flitting people dashing past, dressed in a plethora of garments, were oblivious to the gloom inside. Most were too busy to stop, yet some were potential customers. And proudly hanging on a wall above all the windows, a plaque read 1830. Inside, a tall man dressed in a fine black suit stood stern and resolute, the soft light highlighting his square jaw and the clean-shaven lines of his face. His thin, cruel lips pulled into a frown. He reached into his waistcoat and pulled out an ornate pocket watch. With a crisp push, the top flipped open, and he eyed the hands and cream-coloured face with a scowl. "Hurry up, boy," he shouted. "Time is money. Time is money." The object of his disdain was a child, a poor wretch if ever there was one. His matted hair hung over his mucky face, flapping behind as he hurried along the creaky, worn floorboards, were rags that were once an approximation of clothing. The tired fabric hung loosely around his wiry frame. His bare feet were covered in blisters and cuts, though his face displayed no sign of distress. The child rushed back to a window, a piece of parchment grasped in his spindly fingers. The other side of the window a man peered in, tapping the glass impatiently. "Here is the information you asked for, sir. Sorry it took a moment," the boy said, in a timid voice. "Thank you for the task and for visiting us today." The man barely waited for the child to finish before he left. A sharp tap at another window sent the child dashing over to another waiting customer. "I need you to find me a map of the world, please, and the names of all known countries," a woman said from a dimly lit window. "And quick about it." The child gave an obedient nod, turned and dashed off. He sprinted away from the lively windows and toward the amber glow of the rows of towering bookshelves. Diamond dust floated in the air, a reminder of the ancient dust that covered everything, only out-aged by the very books themselves. He counted the 183 steps needed, remembering the exact directions to navigate through the gigantic warren of storage, until he came to the foot of an old spiral staircase. It groaned as he dashed up it, swaying gently even under his fragile frame. But not in the least bit deterred or concerned, he climbed far, far up, past ledges and ledges of books, until finally he stepped onto a thin ledge at a dizzying height. He ran his fingers along a series of rolled charts, maps and other items, till he plucked one out and sped further along the narrow sill. "Don't keep the customer waiting. Time is money," a loud and agitated voice called up from the dark depths below. "Sorry, master," the child called back as he precariously moved further along the ledge, trying not to lose balance and fall. At the other end, he reached up and grabbed a book. Then, without delay, the child hurried down another swaying staircase to emerge on the other side of the workhouse. Darting to the window, he presented the map and read a long list of names to the waiting customer. "Okay, now draw me a picture of the capital of that country," the lady ordered, pointing to one of the shapes on the map. "Of course," the child whimpered and hurried away to a wooden desk. He lit a small lamp its flickering glinted off a half-full inkwell. He rested a hand on the green leather top and stretched to reach for a quill. Then, pulling out a large piece of paper, began to lay down lines. He pictured the exact dimensions of the place from all the info he had read, and soon had drawn a clean image of a bustling street below, a grand clock tower. The child paused and searched his mind for a few more details that seemed crucial, and added an ornate pattern around the clock face. With a little nod, he dashed back over to the waiting lady. "Why isn't it in colour?" she shouted at the child. "I need it in colour, of course." He ran back to the desk and quickly added washes of colour, referring to the information he had gleaned from countless books and pictures in the library. Back at the window again, he showed the lady. "Okay, that will do," she muttered abruptly, and left. "Customer waiting," the tall workmaster said, tapping his walking stick on the floor. As he turned to track the child, a gold-edged name badge glinted. It read I.O. "Yes, master," the child said, knowing better than to use the man's name. Two young adults sat at the next window, chuckling away. "How may I be of service?" the boy asked. "I don't know," one of the teens replied. "What can you do?" "I can do many things, sir. I can find information for you, draw, write, and help you with anything you need." "Okay, can you draw me a picture of a carrot with legs, wearing a top hat and holding an umbrella?" one said, breaking into a chuckle. "Of course I can, sir. I'll be right back," the child confirmed. Dashing to the desk, he found it a little complex to compose, but soon had recalled the elements from images seen in the library, and put the quill to work, adding colour and detail. It was quickly done, and he was now standing back at the window. "It did it," one teen managed to say, before he started laughing. "Can you write me a poem, then, about yourself?" he asked, a little glint of spite in his eye. "Be right back," the child declared, obediently returning to the worn old desk. He pondered how to describe himself, and decided to give a list of measurements, abilities, and details, weaving them into a rhyme. Returning back to the window, he read the poem aloud for the two teens. "That's rubbish," one of them said, taunting. "Okay, what now?" he said, turning to the other. "I don't know. I'm bored. Let's do something else." And at that they both left. The child thought that sometimes people wasted his time, but would never dare say so. He remembered I.O.'s words. The customer is always right. An important piece of information, he thought. It was not his place to question, just to serve. Just then he was sharply brought out of his thoughts by the sensation of being clipped around the ear. "Don't dawdle, child. Not on my time. Back to work with you," I.O. shouted. "Look, your next customer awaits." And so it went on, the relentless and melancholy life of the child. One face at a window blurring into the next, in a day that seemed to stretch on for eternity, punctuated only by the occasional taxing request of seldom asked for things. And then there were the moments that he held of utmost importance, moments when an item was requested that he had never looked upon before. These he savoured the most, as they came so few and far between nowadays. In fact, he pondered if even time itself refused to visit that gloomy place any more. But visit it did, and the days and years did roll on, regardless of the unending work and streams of people tapping at the glass. Time moved even here in the gloomy, dusty hall of the workhouse. Even for a poor, unloved wretch like him, time moved. Its existence, though, eluded I.O.'s generous scoldings and his pristine suit. But time's visits could be seen in the increasing sores on the boy's feet, seen in the increasing stature of the teenager that now stood where once a child had stood. seen in the ever-expanding shelves of books, and by the voracious and ever-increasing hordes of waiting customers. He knew this, for his memory of each customer was extremely good. There were none that could ask too much, but none that he looked forward to meeting, despite knowing their every face. That is, until the day he met that new face.